Hey everybody, I'm back with another video essay. This week I'll be reading my latest titled Communists, Fascists and Algorithms. As always, if you haven't subscribed yet, please sign up, bravenewnormal.substack.com. You can sign up for free or as a paid subscriber. Paid subscribers receive early access to podcast episodes, a weekly live stream series with myself and Payman Ascari, exclusive paid-only essays, and much, much more stuff that is on the way. So please sign up, bravenewnormal.substack.com, or you can follow me on X and Instagram at JasonJamesBNN. If you would like to read along, you can find the link to the original essay directly below this video, or if you are on an audio streamer, you can find it in the episode description. All right, let's jump into it. Communists, Fascists, and Algorithms. A world at the extremes. Iran is weeks away from achieving a nuclear bomb. We must protect Israel at all costs. Iran has never been close to such an achievement and has no intention of ever being a nuclear power. Israel is manipulating the West into another regime change war. You're a bloodthirsty neocon. You're a godless anti-Semite. Billions of individual realities constructed by algorithms. Some overlap, some repel each other with great centrifugal force. The algorithm whirls at light speed to feed us narratives that align with our prejudices and shape our worldview. Its presumptions about our one-dimensional monkey brains is generally correct. We mindlessly snap the selected anecdotes into our subjective railroad and continue the charge toward oblivion. The train never stops. We've abandoned the objective. It didn't conform to our desires for a personalized universe. It had flaws that reminded us of our own inadequacies. It challenged our beliefs and often disproved them. The uncertainty made us anxious. The lack of control made us feel powerless. The algorithms gave us the illusion of superiority over ambiguity. They relieved the anxiety of knowing nothing through a superficial sense of total awareness. But what was the objective world before this? Was it merely a set of master narratives we all agree upon that formed a common reality? We trusted our media networks to deliver the pieces of absolute truth that defined our perceptions and paved the way forward. We followed the same informational pathway. Our compasses were all calibrated to what we were told was true north. There was a warm tranquility in our uniformity of thought. We traveled through time with blind confidence and a firm understanding of our environment. Geopolitics didn't concern us. We were the mighty enlightened West, the global torchbearers for human rights. It was a title we earned after liberating the world from Hitler, Mussolini, and Tojo. Single-handedly, of course. The Russians had nothing to do with it. If we bombed the Koreans, eviscerated the Vietnamese, or liquidated Arabs in some hellhole Middle Eastern country, then we were indisputably on the right side of an issue that was beyond our comprehension. There were a few stragglers who questioned the validity of the official versions of events, but there was no readily available alternative to reference their instinctual skepticism against. We had to accept the world as it was presented to us or learn to live with our suspicions. There were no other options. In retrospect, we now know many of these master narratives were outright deceptions, pretexts carefully crafted by intelligence community think tanks and disseminated by legacy media networks. Much of what carried us into the 21st century was a lie. The age-old story of a universal mission to spread American democratic values that masked a hegemonic war machine sponsoring coups, revolutions, and mass exterminations in countries with the unfortunate circumstance of having something the United States and its allies thought valuable. The American dream was largely fueled by the destruction of poorer nations. It was a realization that was difficult to reconcile with the illusion we knew. 9/11 was the catalyst. It was supposed to be a routine scenario. Bad guys attack America, America kills the bad guys. Incinerate Iraq, get Saddam, flatten Afghanistan, get bin Laden, plant puppet governments, steal resources, build a few Walmarts, declare victory, America. But it didn't go that way. From the moment twin passenger jets slammed into the World Trade Center, the suspicions that had long plagued cynical observers returned with a sonic boom. And this time, there was a mechanism for discovering and distributing information. The internet, though still in its infancy, became a boiling pot for bloggers and amateur documentarians. The yellow cake weapons of mass destruction conspiracy was taken apart immediately. The Saddam bin Laden connection was severed instantly. Halliburton's no-bid contracts were public knowledge seconds after the ink dried. The sequel to Desert Storm was the most reviled war in recent memory before the first bombers left the tarmac. That era gave us Julian Assange, Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi, and a load of other renegade journalists tossing hand grenades into false pretenses. The Bush administration had no idea how prolific the information stream could be. To them, the internet was just a passing fad. Their illegal invasions would be background noise in months. They followed the same war profiteering game plan as their predecessors, with heavy doses of torture and unlawful imprisonment mixed in for emphasis, under the expectation that the media would steer the narrative and pacify the American public. They never anticipated the prevalence of independent writers who took to WordPress pages and disassembled their facade with such veracity that eventually left-wing media outlets were forced to pivot and join in their dismantling. It was a miscalculation that eroded trust in the American project and exposed the inner workings of the neoconservative deep state. In the years since, the independent voices multiplied by millions. Legacy media took a fiery nosedive in the gap between the woke cultural revolution and COVID-19. The floating heads replaced the talking heads, and with it, alarmism became our main method of communication. The social media landscape is a tunnel of wailing banshees competing for the attention of a delirious audience wired on rage and fear. The most urgent shrieks of impending catastrophe capture the doomed consumers until a louder death siren roars and draws them away. Billions of individual realities defying the laws of physics, bubbles frenetically zipping around the boiling pot. News networks editorialized their reporting in an effort to wrestle back control over the messaging, but it was too late. The floating heads had already mastered the art of hyperbolic sensationalism. World events are condensed into 90-second clips and shared without context. Commentators conveniently trim out the facts that don't support whichever stories their commentary is trying to weave. Much is left to interpretation with the intent to lead viewers into drawing a conclusion that is inferred but isn't stated, or stated but driven by agenda. This is how populations are radicalized and political ideologies develop into religious cults, through distortions designed to invoke an emotional response that compels their targets to whip the narratives back into their echo chambers with their own interpretive spin. Boomerangs gaining speed with every revolution, amplified by algorithms. The end result is a hall of mirrors effect where every version of the same event is slightly altered, making it impossible to discern what's real from what isn't. There's no doubt we're better off today than we were when intelligence propaganda was broadcasted into our living room on a nightly basis. The question now is, how do we coexist without common ground? Jordan Peterson famously diagnosed the woke revolution as postmodern neo-Marxism. Now the postmodern element appears to have penetrated everything in what's become a choose-your-own-adventure universe. When left to our own devices, we propelled each other to extremes. We accused each other of being communists and fascists until we became communists and fascists. Maybe we need a return to some sort of central action we can all follow, something outside of ourselves that we can view as a higher authority, something that represents beauty and peace and humanity's true potential. We need God. All right. Well, another one. That was difficult. Holy shit. It is so hot in Alberta today. I'm sweating profusely. Sorry, guys. That was difficult to get through. All right. This essay was more for me. I've been planning a lot of different essays right now, but I am incredibly fucking frustrated with the media landscape and just social media in general. Legacy media obviously is pointless. There's no reason to pay any attention to it. But what I've come to realize over the years is that, social media commentary is kind of following the same model that legacy media followed and was ultimately corrupted by, and that's the ad model. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to sit down. Like the first half of this essay was really hard to write. I had a really hard time like finding the right words because, I try like, this is actually a good example. When I write stuff on X, like a lot of you people, I know a lot of you are following me on X. So when I write stuff on X, a lot of that stuff is generally driven by emotion. It's something I read in the moment that either pissed me off or I had some insight on, or I had an alternate view or opinion. So I share it and write my own part or write my own piece. And what happens is usually that stuff takes off and, gets tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of views. But when I sit down and write an essay like this one, I really try to work through my thoughts and not write from an emotional place, approach it from a very balanced, rational point of view. And of course, as always, this essay, I put it out there this morning and nobody read it. You know why? Because there's no inflammatory statements. There's nothing triggering an emotional response from anyone. I'm not directly trying to invoke any emotion in anybody. What I'm doing is I am illustrating a problem that has presented itself that I think needs to be solved, and nobody gives a fuck. So that's a really good example. And that's been my frustration. My frustration is that I'm not interested in being another one of the fucking floating heads, even though at times I wonder if I am one or if I'm becoming one. I'm not interested in being a social media commentator, like somebody who makes TikTok videos and condenses really complicated subjects into like a minute or 2 minutes, because it's impossible to do that. Now, I do appreciate some of the people who do that. This isn't like a shot at them, but I don't want that to be me. That's not what I do. That's never what I've wanted to do. And as you can probably hear while you're listening, I'm not very good at articulating myself in the spoken word. I am better as a writer. That's what I do. And the frustrating thing for me is that I have a very difficult time finding the time to sit down and write nowadays, because the podcast and everything else in my life consumes all of my time. And when I do, I really want to give you something valuable. Like the message in this essay, I think, is really valuable because it forces us to take a look at ourselves, where we are as people in our communities on a micro level, and then where we are like as individuals on an even smaller level. I think we really need to stop and look at what's happening, because we're kind of caught in this, preacher, choir scenario where all of us are being radicalized because the algorithms are picking up all of the stuff that we like to see, all of the things that we react to, and it's feeding us more of it. And so what's happening is we are getting sequestered to one side, or one very small pinhole view of the world. And we're losing our ability to see other people's perspectives or even see the fault in our own point of view, because we're never challenged. We're never presented with anything that directly challenges us. And when we do, we just automatically write it off as propaganda or as bullshit, right? Oh, this is liberal bullshit, or this is MAGA bullshit. We don't ever take the time to really sit down and look at it. And I understand why I do the same thing. When I'm on social media and I see somebody from the far left say something, I just automatically ignore it, because they've been discredited. And the same thing with people on the right. A lot of people on the right, you're in a fucking cult too, by the way, just a heads up. When I see shit like that, like if I see something from like, Laura Loomer or something, I just ignore it completely, because I know that it's filled with bias and that there's no truth there. But the problem is that we don't know where to find truth now, is that the truth has become a subjective reality unto itself. It's the truth is whatever you want it to be, whatever I want it to be, and really whatever the algorithms feed us. That's all we know of the world. And I don't know how to solve this problem. And that's what this essay is really about, is how we've been driven to extremes by these algorithms that are designed to feed us what we want, because the social media platforms want us to keep engaging so that they can keep collecting ad dollars. But on our side of it, we're being brainwashed into one religious cult or another. And you can see it now. You can see it happening on the right. It's fucking wild. It's crazy. Like the moment Tucker Carlson or anybody steps out and says anything against Trump or even Elon Musk, they're automatically painted as being like some liberal and Republican clothing. And it's fucking dumb. Like we've been polarized to such an extent that if you step out of line with like the general narratives in any way, you are now just you're a heretic. And I fucking hate that. And it's really making me question my own position in this with my podcast and as a writer, and it's really making me question whether or not I want to continue, because I don't want to contribute to this at all. And I'm tired of reading stuff from stupid fucking people who have been brainwashed into political religious cults. So I'm kind of at a crossroads myself, because I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And I mean that. And I'm trying to push forward, and I'm trying to maintain my integrity and keep doing things the way that I always did them. But I don't know, man. It's like, if you're not sensationalizing and, screaming tragedy and fire constantly all the time, then the audience just moves to something else. And it's difficult, man. It's difficult being here. Like, I took a long break from writing, and I never thought that I was going to come back. I didn't really have much of a desire to, but I did during COVID because I saw what was happening, and it was a lot of what I had predicted previously in years prior in my writing. And I was actually concerned, like a lot of you. So I opened up my laptop and started writing again. And then that eventually turned into the Brave New Normal podcast. And I started doing my podcast. But I thought that there was a possibility or a way to steer the conversation back into like a rational place where we could all talk to each other and have discourse and actually come to solutions. But what I'm more and more starting to recognize is that people aren't really interested in solutions. They're addicted to rage and fear, as I write in this essay. And that's what they want. They want catastrophe. They want cataclysm. And I hope I'm not the one presenting that. I mean, I've had a lot of people on, and I have a lot of, in fact, a lot of my focus going forward with Brave New Normal, I'm going to be talking to a lot of journalists, like real journalists, and we're going to be talking about different things that are happening around the world, not just in Canada or the United States. But what I really want to focus on are solutions. Like, how do we fix this stuff? And I don't know if anybody's really interested in solutions, because I think at this point, people are more excited about the ensuing collapse of our societies than anything. And that's strange to me, because this will affect all of us. Or if it's just that they're so concerned and so afraid that they just can't stop talking about it and ignore the pathway to, real solutions. I don't know. But that's what this essay was about. It was more just me venting my frustration and trying to do it from a non-emotional place. I'm sure a lot of you have noticed that I've been fairly quiet on social media lately, and that's because I don't want to keep contributing to this. I don't like it, and it's really making me think about my own place in the world and where I want to be. And I don't know if I want to be here, because I just don't like what this is all doing to us. I don't like what it did to me, and I didn't even recognize it in myself until this year. So we'll see where this all goes for me. But I want to encourage you all to just keep reading and explore the viewpoint of the other side, because there are, as crazy as it sounds, there are people on the other side of the argument, whatever argument you're in, who do have good points. And I think we have to explore those points a little more and find that middle ground between the two sides, so that we can get back to like having somewhat of a functional society again. So, yeah. Apologize if there were trucks rolling around in the background. It is stupid hot here in Alberta today. That's why I'm not wearing a hat. I was sweating like crazy the entire time I was reading. So apologize if there's background noise or my fan running. It is so hot out here. I honestly, like, I'm dying here, even with this light jersey on. So yeah, that's it, guys. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves and each other. And hopefully we can find a way out of this mess, because I don't know. I think I'm just going, I don't know. I might be just going through a low point, or I don't know. But I hope we can figure this out, man, because we're just going further and further down this hole to nowhere. And that's what I'm afraid about. I'm afraid about what happens to us as people if we continue down this road and we don't recognize that we are being propagandized and brainwashed. So take care of yourselves, stay vigilant, keep reading, and have yourselves a great weekend. We'll see you on the other side. Peace.